Hi, this is Brandy at Scrap Girls, and I've been promising you guys that I was going to show you how I did this layout. So that's what we're doing today. We're going to do breaking down the layout from the brush set 19 Hearts layout number 1, which was the image of Lily with all the brushes around her that created her portrait. The couple of things that I used to create this, or the main things, were the Scrap Simple Actions silhouettes. So found in the store. It's under Scrap Simple Tools Action Silhouettes. 8501 is my number. So I used that, and we're going to use that to actually create the mask that will block off parts of her face and allow some to show through so that we get that nice image of her. The other thing I used was the brush set 19 Hearts, and I used it because of the word scatter love, and you can find that also in the Scrap Girl store. So I'm going to close those down, and we are going to get started here. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open up the original image of Lily, and I'll put it right here beside it so we can work it as we go along, breaking down the layout. What I'm going to want to do first is actually increase the contrast. So I'm going to click on the adjustment layer down here at the bottom and hit brightness contrast. I'm going to take the contrast up and the brightness a little bit down. And when I'm done, I'm going to right click and hit flatten image. Now the program I'm using is Photoshop CS6, maybe a little bit different for you, especially if you're using PSE 11, but I'll try to be conscious of those of you who are using that as we go along and try not to do too many things that you can't do in that program. So the next thing we're going to do is to run the silhouette action, and I'm going to use the custom silhouette. If you're in PSE 11, it has the new interface that is almost exactly like in the CS versions of Photoshop, where you don't have the thumbnails anymore, but you actually have the playlist like what we have. So click on Silhouette Custom and hit play. And we're going to hit continue to bring up the gallery, and I'm going to right click and hit fit in view, which allows me to see everything at once because our image is so large. So I'm going to increase the image balance until I start to get Lily's face to show through, and I'm going to make sure her eyelashes pop out and I get the features of her face. And when I'm done, I'm going to hit OK, close that off, and now we have the silhouette of Lily. Now we've got this little shadow down here by her mouth, and I'm going to use my eraser brush with a hard edge, and that's just your original hard edge brush here, and I'm just going to erase off that part. And you go ahead and erase off any part in your image that is sticking out or that doesn't look right. You erase it off so it won't show up in the image at all. So the next thing is to choose your background. Now you can start with white background if you want to, just by adding solid color, choosing white, and then you can go in and change it. But since I'm mimicking this original layout, I'm just going to drag the paper that I used from it over here. And this is from Naturally Neutral, but any neutral paper that you have will do. And then I'm going to add a new layer on top of the silhouette, and I'm going to do that by clicking on this little page button here that adds a new layer. And we're going to need to add a mask to that. So to do that, we're going to hold down the Control key or the Command key if you're using Mac and click on this area in your layers mask where the silhouette is. And then we're going to turn it off. I'm going to click on layer 2, which is my blank layer, and this little rectangle at the bottom here is add a layer mask. I'm going to click on that, and it's going to automatically add a layer mask to this blank layer so we can start brushing. So what we're going to do is I'm going to change my foreground color to white, and I'm going to select my brush. Here it is. And make sure you click back to the blank layer because you may be on the mask layer and you don't want to do that. You want to make sure that when you click there, you'll see the little black line go back around it again so you know you're in the right area. And then I'm just going to start, well, I wanted that in white. I am going to start just randomly brushing around the image. And if you want a guide, you can take this silhouette and turn it back on and just take the opacity down really low. And that'll kind of give you a guide as you're going along where you're brushing. I think I brushed in that layer. Thank goodness for undo. Okay, so now we're back and I'm just going to randomly go around because this is my first layer. Then what we're going to do is add a second blank layer on top. Again, hold down the control key, click on that silhouette, go back to your new blank layer and hit the add layer mask again. We're going to click back over to the blank one and change our color, and I'm just going to choose the red that I originally used. But I'm going to take my brush down really small now to about 125 while I get into the area of her eyes. You will always want your eyes to pop. So it doesn't matter if you can't really read it at this point while I'm just going around the edge of her face. And then we'll let the brush get a lot looser as we move out from the image. I just really want this to really fill in good so that those features of her face stand out. Okay, I'm going to crease the brush back up to, say, around 600. Continue to brush and change it. And I'm using the bracket keys on my keyboard. The right bracket makes your brush larger. The left bracket makes your brush smaller. I actually learned that from a scrap girl, one of our members. I didn't even know that. And I tell you what, it's been so helpful. Our members are great. We always learn stuff from each other. That's what I love about our group. So I'm just randomly brushing around her face. And you can see that it's starting to take on the look of our original layout. So we're going to do this again. We're going to add a new layer. Click on the silhouette by holding down the command or the control. Click on our blank layer and add that mask in again. And this time we're going to use black, same brush, and just add some accents. Now I'm using the black and white and red because that's just what I originally did for the photo because it went with the collection. But the great thing about this is go ahead and use 3 colors that are really different like this, and then when you're done, you can go in and change the colors really easy. Change your backgrounds. This is just to get you a good starting point. And you can see it's coming together and starting to really look like our original layout. So that's how we get the image done, and then of course you just go in and add your embellishments. But before that I went ahead and I added a couple of more brushes here just for some fun effects, and we're going to actually do an opposite of the mask that we just did so that we can actually make sure it clicks, say, in her face area but not covering up all the brush that you already just did. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold down my control. Well, first let's add a new layer. Okay, we got our new layer up here. Hold down the controller command, click on our silhouette, and this time we're going to select inverse. Now click on that and add the layer, and you can see our layer is opposite from the rest. I'm going to click and bring white to my foreground color and then choose that other brush that I had. Wrong one. Let me get the right one here. And adjust the sizes and turn it a little bit. Now what you can do also is, there, that'll give me a good idea. You can actually go ahead and brush in the layer before you add the mask and then reposition it where you want and then add the mask, and it'll block off anything else. You can see that that brush is not showing up in her hairline at all. And so that just gives us that look. And then just go in and add your embellishments on top. And I've grouped these over here so I can just slide them over really easy. And that's how to do the layout. Well, I hope you guys learned something new. I had fun showing it to you. It was a fun layout to do. It actually, as you can see, does not take that long. So have fun and play with it. And again, like I said, if you want to go in and change your colors, you just click on the colors that you want and either add a solid color on top and clip it to your mask if you're using Photoshop Elements, and we can do that. Take a solid color and say we wanted to use a blue. Right click and choose Create Clipping Mask. And then you've got a blue look, and then you can change your embellishments. It just depends on which kit you're using with it, or say you're trying to match a room. You could certainly have this printed on canvas or printed out on your printer at home and frame it for your child's room or as a gift for someone. If you're trying to match their home decor, you know, that would be another reason to change some of the colors. But I hope you had fun. I had fun teaching you, and have a wonderful, wonderful day. Bye-bye.